What's up everybody, 40 the Broadway Saiyan here, and welcome back again to my YouTube channel with another Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis video. This time we're going to be focusing on another top builds guide, and it's going to be for Aerith. This one was pretty highly requested, and I know a lot of you guys already know how to properly build Aerith, for those of you that have been playing the game since day one, but for those of you that are watching my channel that are still unsure of what weapons could work really well for her or what builds to use, then this video is definitely for you guys. This video is also based on not only my experiences with the character, but also discussing with my own Discord community on how they like to use Aerith and what's been very successful for them. So it's a compilation of my experience and experiences for the folks that I've talked to within my Discord server. Now, Aerith is a character that excels greatly in healing your party and keeping your party alive. Not only that, but she has some fantastic utility in supporting your party members either with buffs or even with debuffs to help you take down the enemy offense a lot quicker. She also can deal a pretty substantial amount of magic damage depending on the weapons that you do have equipped on her, so you could also consider that. The character does have access to some physical attack type of damage, however there are characters that can do that much better, so unless you want to try and test that build out, you definitely want to lean more towards a magic damage build or some type of a utility healer support. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at 3 builds here that I have for Aerith. The first one is going to be a healer, like offensive utility type build. So with this build, we're going to go ahead and take a look at it right here. In terms of the costume, if you have this available for this build, this is going to be your best option, which is the Rosy battlesuit that comes from the gear voucher. The reason why is simply because you get more healing, and because healing is going to be one of the main things that this build does, you definitely want to go with that. Now, the main hand weapon you're going to use is going to be the Fairy Tail. This is arguably one of the best, if not the best, healing weapon in the game. It gives her more heal. It also gives her some earth resistance. There's not a lot of enemies right now that use earth magic. I can't think of any really that are glaring that off the top of my head. As we get more content, we'll probably see more of a use for this, but those are the reinforcement abilities she gets. As far as the support material you're going to be getting, you're going to get ability damage plus 10%, so flexibility there. You could use magic or physical. I would personally use magic because she is primarily better with magic damage. And then the last 2 slots, you get magic ability damage plus 20%. Again, leaning more towards magic for Aerith. Now, on her secondary weapon, I went with the brand new Sun Umbrella. This weapon is really good. Like, honestly, the reason why I like this weapon is because it gives her a minor damage option, but the value that this weapon provides is going to be the physical and magical defense decrease. Now, I understand it's at a low potency, but the fact that she does both just makes her so good. And since you're going to be using some magic damage abilities on her as well, this is very good for her and also allows her to provide offensive support to the rest of your team. Now, in terms of reinforcement abilities, it's pretty straightforward. She's going to be getting a little bit more magic from this, which is good. And it's also going to be boosting her magic ability potency when the attack stance is at max. So she gets a boost there whenever that attack stance is at max. Okay. So that is the weapons that I chose for her. In terms of limit break, I personally went with Healing Wind. I like having that emergency button in case I really need a heal right away and I have this charged up. So this is what I decided to choose from there. Now, in terms of materia I feel like is very flexible depending on the fight. There's really no 100% foolproof build as far as materia, in my opinion. So based on what your support materia is, based on the fight, that is how I would personally go with equipping materia on your characters. Right now, I have all 3 of the breach spells because I did get them through the Crisis Core coin shop or the Crisis Dungeon, excuse me, coin shop, since I have been playing through those. So if I need something else, I would definitely swap it out. If I need like a particular sigil for a boss fight, I would swap something out that doesn't make sense, and so forth. So with materia, I feel like it is dependent entirely on the fight. Now, sub-equipment. You guys know that I touched up on this hard on one of my more recent videos. We want to cater to the reinforcement abilities that will support what your build is based on. And because our build is based on healing, I'm going to go ahead and focus on healing. Now, the cool thing about sub-weapons for Aerith is a lot of these weapons that you could use have boost heal in the R1 slot. That means you don't even really need the 4-star version of the weapon. you could actually get away with just having even the 3-star version. Keep in mind though, if you want access to the R2 ability, you need to have the weapon at least 4-star, because 4 stars can go all the way up to level 60, which unlocks the R2. But if we're focusing just on her heal, there's plenty of options for weapons that have the R1 ability at boost heal. So in this case, I went with Cloud's Crystal Sword, and I'm just using this as an example. You guys can definitely check out what weapons give boost heal, but this is just an example of what I'm using here for a healer build. And then I went ahead and went with the Tranquilizer Gun, which also boosts your heal. It also has this, which is very helpful in terms of some of her offensive spells that I have given her. So she has that accessible to her if you go with Tranquilizer Gun. And then the reason why I went with Butterfly Edge is I want some HP on her. HP is starting to become more important in the game, especially as you get to end game content where bosses can deal a ton of damage, especially during fights such as like the very hard summon fights. So you want your healer to live. So this is why I chose Butterfly Edge. Again, this is just an option for HP. And later on, if you happen to unlock the level 60 cap for this weapon, you will get the boost limit break potency, which is this is actually going to be more useful if you use Seal Evil. But the reason why I just put this on her is because I wanted that boost HP. There's probably better options out there, but I wanted to give her some survivability. So this is going to be my build in terms of like a healer offensive type of a utility built for Aerith. This is the build that I currently use and the build that I find that I'm most successful with, but you could definitely go with a different one if you feel like there's other weapons that can support this better, but I like this build personally for Aerith. All right, the next build that we're going to go ahead and take a look at is going to be this one. So this one is more pure support in terms of the main hand as well as the offhand. And then afterwards with the materia, this is where I give her a little bit more offensive capability, so that way there's a balance. You could go with like giving her like more healing, or for example like the barrier or the Esuna. However, because if you run this set, you won't get any of the support materia that increases buffing or increases healing, so that's why I went with a more offensive set in terms of the materia. But in terms of what I chose here, the outfit is going to pretty much be the same as the last build. Same thing with the limit break, because Healing Wind is just so valuable. I really want that just for the emergency panic button. You're going to go with Fairy Tail, that's very self-explanatory, and the difference with this build is I gave her Mithril Rod. Now this build was mentioned to me by one of my Discord members. This weapon is actually pretty underrated because it is an AoE buff that gives all of your allies physical and magic defense up, as well as a small heal. So let's say you don't have Kiraga on hand and you want to use this, you could definitely use this. They cost the same thing, but in circumstances where you're like, shoot, there's a big attack coming, I don't have any physical attack or magic attack break debuffs, I mean, you could definitely pop this instead and give your allies a boost to their defensive, and also give them an AoE heal. It's not as good as Kiraga from the Fairy Tail, but it is still pretty worth having. Now, even though the potency is low on the buffs, it does go all the way up to mid if you really invest in this weapon, but it's still really strong. I think this weapon is very underrated and it's very good. Now, in terms of the support materia, there's going to be some similarities with the healer offensive utility build, so I went ahead and went with the Tranquilizer Gun again, because it gives her boost heal from the R1 ability. And then this time, this build gives her a bit more HP because I went ahead and used the free-to-play options for both Zac and Glenn that you could get from the event currently. These are really good stat sticks, so both give boost HP and magic defense. The most important key thing here is the R1 ability, which is boost HP. So that way, because this Aerith is primarily more of a support type of a unit, you want as much HP on her, even more so compared to the last build that I showcased. So you have that on her, and then you have that one on her as well. And because this is essentially a free OB10, assuming as a free-to-play player you could clear through most of the event, you could get almost the full stats for this, or 50% of the full stats that you can get for this weapon, which is really good for these two free-to-play weapons. So this is going to be more of the full-on support built Aerith. Now, the last build that I want to show you guys that you could consider is going to be the all-out magical offense Aerith. Now for this one, it's all dependent on which AoE elemental staff you have. First off, let's just go on and take a look at the costume that I have on her. I went ahead and went with the Sunny Robe. If you don't have this, it's perfectly fine if you don't have it, but if you have it, it's good for this build. She gets a lot of HP from it, and she also gets a boost in her magic attack, and because this one is more of an all-out attacking Aerith, you definitely want to consider this gear or costume if you have it on hand. Now, there are 3 staffs currently that provide her with an AoE elemental attack. There is the Wiser Staff, which gives her Earth. And then if we click right over here, I'll show you the other ones that she has available. There is also the Silver Staff, which gives her Ice. And then there is the... Is this the one? I'm not sure if this is the one. No, yeah, this is the one, but the 5-star version. This is the Wizard Staff, so if I had the 5-star version of this, it would be an AoE lightning attack. But all of these staffs pretty much give her similar R1 abilities. The only difference is that the R2 ability will be boosting that particular element. Silver Staff opts for this particular R1 ability, which is the boost attack, so it boosts her magic and physical, whereas Wizard Staff boosts magic, and then afterwards the one that I currently have equipped on her, which is the Wiser Staff, boosts her HP, so it gives her more survivability, and also her Earth potency. Now, in terms of the support materia for this setup, this is what you're going to get. You're going to get 2 magic ability damage boosts, and then you're going to get the X Sigil boost. So this one, you're going to want to run Ruin or Ruinra X on the 3rd slot if this is active. I don't have this at level 60 yet, but if I did, that's what I would suggest that you guys run. So she has that particular sigil locked in and being able to break more sigils. And then afterwards, again, you could be very flexible with this build in terms of the materia slots for 1 and 2. However, because this is primarily an Earth Elemental build, for one of her spells, I actually gave her the single target version of the element that she's using. Now, if you were using the other staves that had the different elements, you would switch it out for that particular matching element. So then that way, she has an AoE option for that element, and she has a single target, and the single target is going to be used more so for the single target boss fights. And then afterwards, for her secondary weapon, I went with Sun Umbrella, because why not? You get both of the defense breaks on magic and physical, and then you also get the boost magic attack and boost magic ability potency with the attack stance at max. So this is a very good secondary hand weapon for this particular build. And then afterwards, for my sub-equips, it's pretty simple. I looked for ones that boost either magic attack or Earth potency. I went with Jiggy Fam. Once I get this to level 60, we'll unlock the boost Earth potency. I also went with Red 13's Leather Collar. We get more HP, so this is actually a fairly tanky build as well, and she also gets more Earth potency. And then afterwards, I went with Heavy Vulcan. This one gives her some magic defense, which is decent, but I'm really eyeing that Earth potency, so that way we're really amping up the amount of Earth damage that she deals. And again, if you are running one of the other staves that has a different elemental AoE attack, then you would just optimize for that particular element. But this is going to go ahead and conclude my top builds for Aerith. Hopefully this helps you guys out in understanding the character better and being able to properly build for her. Let me know what you think in the comment section below of these 3 builds. Let me know if you have some builds that you guys have been trying out that I didn't mention that has some pretty good value that has provided to you guys throughout your playthrough for evercrisis so far, because I would love to hear it in a constructive discussion. Thank you guys again for watching. Stay tuned for the next video and stay blessed, everybody.
All the time.